Hello and welcome to the Mouseworks series of how-to instructional model building videos. We here at Mouseworks strive to bring you the best information and techniques to help you get the most out of your model building experience. We will show you how the pros build models step by step so you can easily follow along. Most of the techniques you will see are very easy to learn and simple to accomplish. So sit back and let us show you the tricks and secrets to building your miniature masterpiece. Okay, I've got a new demo to do for y'all. I just received these, or I just bought these AK Real Color paint sets. There's been a lot of buzz about these, getting the right accurate colors and so forth. They are a similar take on them, just like Tamiya paints. So we'll see how close they are and how they perform. So the first test, we got German interior colors here. First test is going to be how well they dilute with different thinners. So let's start in here. Nice packaging, nice looking paints. They do look a little different than Tamiya paints in that when you open them, I'll show you here. Crack them open, their color is pretty solid. It doesn't seem to have separated with the medium. A lot of Tamiyas, you can see the clear is actually risen to the top. This one seems to stay mixed, so you may not have to do a lot of mixing on them. So okay, so the first thing I do is, just in case we're gonna do a little mixing on them, just to stir them up. And I normally use an electric mixer for this, but we'll just do this. So it looks like the color stays through and through, doesn't seem to separate. So again, that's one good plus. So, and I'm going to use just a standard, I think it's a number 1 brush here, or well, it says it's a 20-aught, but it's a long 20-aught. The first one we're going to do is we're going to use some Tamiya X28 thinner. Okay, so we're just going to put a tiny bit of it in here. Okay. You can kind of see, hopefully, the thinner in there. I'm going to take the brush, dip it in there, and just see how well it actually dilutes with the thinner. So it looks like it's diluting pretty well. Okay. Seems to not be separating, not getting grainy. So I eventually will be doing an airbrush demo of all of these as well. So with that one, I'm going to mark this Tamiya X28. Okay. Next up is going to be just some denatured alcohol that I have bought in bulk. So we'll put just a little bit of that in here. And I like using denatured alcohol instead of rubbing alcohol or any of the other alcohols or isopropyl or anything, because it is has less minerals in it. So put some paint in there and see how well it separates. And it's combining pretty well, pretty close to the Tamiya thinner, almost indistinguishable. Doesn't seem to be getting grainy. Actually, I take that back. It is actually getting very grainy as it starts to leach off in there. Not liking that too much. I mean, once I remix it, it recombines, but as I let it settle, the pigment is actually settling out. So not put denatured alcohol. We'll let that sit for a little bit. Okay. Next up, I'm going to use Mr. Hobby's leveling thinner. This should be a sort of a lacquer thinner. Put a few drops in there. Okay. Okay, we'll put a little paint in there. A little bit more. Okay. So this seems to be, again, thinning or combining with the thinner quite well. Good consistency to it. Okay, let's see if it decides to try to separate. Does not look like it's trying to separate. Looks like it's holding pretty well. Alright, so that actually looks pretty decent, and that is leveling thinner. So, okay. Next, I'm going to use this airbrush thinner from VMS, which is also a leveling thinner. And this is supposed to be similar to the Gunzi leveling thinner. I like this thinner with the Stynylrez primers. Okay. That's combining very well. Combined very quickly, quicker than the others. It spread through the liquid. And it actually is doing its leveling action, so it's hard to get it to pool. But it doesn't seem to be separating. Okay, so that one's looking pretty good. That was VMS. VMS. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to use is actually just straight water. This is regular tap water. Where I live, there's not a lot of minerals, so it's pretty clean water, pretty close to bottled water. And it is actually combining quite well and does not seem to be separating. It does look a little thinner. Seems to have diluted the paint quite a bit, but it's not getting grainy, so actually that is working pretty well. Alright, so the last one we're going to do is pure lacquer thinner. And lacquer thinner usually combines with everything. It makes a very good cleaner. Let's take a look, see what it does. Combines quickly. Gets actually slightly grainy. It's starting to separate and give you those little specks of what looks like grit. Interesting. Okay. That was lacquer. This one's for the water. Lacquer. Okay. So, after letting them set for just a bit, let's re-examine them. This is the Tamiya X28. See if I can get a little bit closer for you. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, X20 is a little grainy. You can see it started to separate and kind of got grainy. Remixes, but did get a little grainy. So that was Tamiya X20 thinner. This is the Denatured Alcohol, and it has just evaporated all. Okay. Yeah. That's really interesting. It evaporated almost completely out of it. Being an alcohol, I can kind of understand that, but this was the one that went grainy right away, probably because it was starting to evaporate. So again, not liking that one. Okay, the next one is leveling thinner. Gunzy Mr. Leveling Thinner. It has dried up as well pretty quick. A little bit of grain. Not too bad. Still keeping its body pretty good, so that's working okay. Then we got just plain water, which is holding everything pretty well in suspension. It doesn't seem to be doing anything funny, so water's actually looking pretty good. Here is the lacquer. Again, evaporated and got extremely grainy, so I'd be worried about that through an airbrush. Recombines, but not liking that. Okay, the VMS has not evaporated, has not got grainy, has actually held up quite well. Really liking that. I mean, it's not giving me any fits. Interesting. Okay, so I would say the winners, definitely the VMS. So these are basically the tests I'm doing before I shoot them through an airbrush, just so I don't pick one that will mess up my airbrush. So the VMS is definitely a plus. The lacquer thinner, definitely out. Water, definitely in. The leveling thinner, so-so. I would probably say no. The Denatured Alcohol, definitely not. That's going to give me all kinds of issues in an airbrush. Tamiya X20, not bad. I would say I would try to shoot that and see what that does. So, Denatured Alcohol out, leveling thinner out, lacquer thinner out. Just surprising. X28 in, barely. Water, definitely. VMS, definitely. So, now we'll try experiment with it just hand brushing.